Well, hi, once again. It is time for Unstoppable Mindset, another episode. We hope you'll have fun with us today. We get to meet and talk with Jennifer Watson, who has two companies, Jennifer Watson Leadership and Watson Wellness. And through those companies, as she puts it, she really has a great passion of helping to support people live with their epic health, their epic leadership, I should say, and their epic legacy that they were destined for. And wow, that's a mouthful, and she'll say it better than I will. But Jennifer, welcome to Unstoppable Mindset. We got a lot to talk about, I think.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Michael. I'm excited to be here, and I believe everybody can live an unstoppable and, yes, epic life. So I'm excited to get the conversation going.
Well, let's start by probably what's a little pre-epic. Tell us a little bit about Jennifer growing up and the early Jennifer.
Yeah, the early Jennifer was actually a little bit of combination of really goofy. I love to have fun. I'm an identical twin, so my twin and I got into some fun, goofy things. We were very outdoorsy kids, kind of like the tomboys. We liked to dress up too. It was really fun. It was a really unique experience growing up with an identical twin. I will say what is true about identical twins. One is usually the polar opposite of the other in many ways. And I was definitely more of the competitive one. I believe that both of us were really definitely high achieving individuals from a very young age. We always like to do well at things, but I was a competitor, a high achiever from a very young age. And that grew into even athletic scholarship to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I ran D1 track and was an All-American 2 times. So I really started playing a lot in the things I was good in at a very young age and really learning to master that in a powerful way, and was led me to do the work that I even do now. But my growing up was so dynamic, and I had a great family that was so supportive of the things that I loved and still also supported the goofiness, the playfulness of me as well.
What was is your sister's name?
Jana, Janna. So Jennifer and Jana.
Jennifer and Jana.
Yes, yes.
And what does she do?
So she is a writer. So I am a speaker. For any of you that follow me, I'm a speaker, and she does more of the writing. And both of us have helped elevate each other in those different categories to help even get better at the things that we're a little more limited in. But she's definitely the writer and the dancer. And she's always was considered probably more the creative one of the family and a little bit more laid back than me. But what we have found in each other as we've gotten older is that she has competitive sides. She has the get up and go sides. I have the laid back sides. And that's what's been so really great to watch as a twin, is how we kind of create and co-create together, but they're still individuals kind of living these powerful, purposeful lives.
Does she write your speeches?
She does not. She does not write my speeches. That's such a great question. I've never been asked that before, but she does not write my speeches. She listens to a lot of my speeches if they're recorded, and she always gives me very honest, powerful feedback, which I love. I love to surround myself with people that are going to give me honest, truthful answers, because that's how I get better as an individual. And go figure, I've done my own journey of like learning to take feedback well and know it's not about me, but making me better in a powerful way. So I love to do that for myself and for others.
Now, you live in Colorado. Does she live in Colorado as well?
She does not. She lives in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I did live there before I moved back to Colorado, and we definitely see each other throughout the year. I'm very close with her 2 boys, which are like my own in many ways. But yes, we definitely have that dance, even living apart, a connection there for sure.
Yeah, and you have to figure out ways and times to see each other since you have such a distance apart from each other.
Yes, yes.
That always creates a challenge. Well, all right. So you made it through high school and so on. And then what did you do?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, from a very young age, I was actually good at quite a few things, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And what I really liked about growing up is that my parents, my family really gave us space to just try and explore different things before we got really good at it, like more middle school, high school, to master things. And from high school, as I mentioned, I got a full ride D1 athletic scholarship to University of Wisconsin-Madison, Big Ten school, was able to have an amazing academic career there. Also did my master's in physical therapy there, and thus started my journey beyond athletics and mastering a new calling, which was wellness. And I started integrating all areas of wellness because of my own story of wellness, where I struggled a little bit through college and later 20s in mental wellness. I struggle a lot with depression, even with all my different successes and the things that I had accomplished. I still struggle with that. So the shame that went with that, but also the desire to really look at wellness in a better way. And thus began my journey once I got done being an athlete into PT school, really looking at wellness as a whole, mind, body, soul. And when I did that, it not only helped me in mobilizing my wellness journey, becoming healthy and healing my brain, but it helped me to be a better practitioner for all my clients. I have treated high-level athletes to clients with cancer, to those with PTSD after military work. And because of the integration that I've given to so many clients through mind, body, soul integration, I've been able to help people really optimize their vitality, their wellness, so they can now do the things they want to do to live the epic life, to become the epic leader, and to really live the legacy that they were created for. At my current journey, as where I'm at now, Michael, is I get to now help others in the coaching and speaking space and use all my expertise from being a practitioner, from being an athlete, from being a human being, and just showing people how to be high-performing leaders and human beings to get the legacy that you desire while you're living in good vitality, while you're living in a space that exudes your highest frequency. And this is my true joy now. And I get to speak across the country on this and really help empower people to do the same.
Do you have any insight as to why you had a bout of depression?
Yeah, so I've been asked that, several different times on different podcasts I've been a part of. And I will say this, everyone, wellness, not just depression. Depression is under that umbrella of just, navigating mental wellness, right? But wellness, I really want all of you to understand, is very layered, not only in mind, body, soul. It is the full package of you, but also when you look at different areas of wellness, in my case, mental wellness, there's also different influencers, not only genetics, but environmental. So from a genetics standpoint, my mom also had a little bit of depression, melancholy tendencies when she was younger as well. Some of this, you guys, you can be genetically predisposed. Sometimes people even have more extensive cases of mental wellness discrepancies where we're looking at people that maybe have severe debilitating depression, where there's bipolar or schizophrenia, and there's so much amazing support for that. But no matter what umbrella you're under, there are some genetic tendencies. The great news that we have now is when you know that, it's just like if you have history of breast cancer in your family, there's tools from food, from exercise, from counseling, from different tools that help rewire the brain to move you into a powerful space, in this case, mental wellness. So yes, there is a little bit of a genetic predisposition, but a lot of it comes from as well the environmental factor, Michael. And this is what a lot of my high achievers, where they feel some guilt and shame that they're very successful, but why are they struggling with anxiety, depression? There can be a lot of layers to that. For my reason, there was a lot of things growing up that I connected my performance, my ability to do well and master things, to love, because I got a lot of attention when I did well. So as a kid, I didn't have a lot of tools and I didn't know how to filter like certain behaviors. So I just started connecting performance to love at a young age. And that's a rewiring pattern that happens at a young age. We learn a lot of our core beliefs as children, good or bad. And as adults, we either have to amplify the good ones or rewire the ones that aren't aligned with where we want to go. So what I took into my adult life is just this fear, if I didn't perform well, that I would be abandoned, that I would be unloved, that people would leave me. And it led to a lot of anxiety, depression around anything that I was getting good at, and lost the joy in the things that I actually was really, really good at. So when I learned some genetics, that core from my mom, we dialogued about it, looked at things I could do to optimize my diet, my exercise, my meditation, counseling, coaching. When I looked at reasons why I had depression, looking at the behavior and the environment that I created as a child, when you took both of those, you guys, and layered them in and really stepped back and looked at the powerful equation to get better, you can get better. So that is a long answer, Michael, to your question, but I will say it's really individual, but there is definitely environmental and usually coming from childhood experiences as well as genetics. And when you have both those, it is so empowering, Michael, because you can do diet changes, mental health changes, meditation, breath work. I did EMDR, cognitive remapping, rewiring techniques that helped me to this day. I say is my greatest performance is that I healed my brain. And now I get to teach others that you can perform and not feel like that depression, anxiety, but perform because you love mastering things and living to your full potential.
And you've probably discovered that you don't need to have attention all the time to still be a good whole person.
Oh, of course. But, like I said, you guys, a lot of that as an adult, you're like, when you hear that, like you said, Michael, you're like, well, of course not. But I want people to really get this. A lot of you smart, high performing people, that makes sense what Michael said. The problem is your subconscious, your unconscious doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to go back to childhood and rewire the pattern. It's just like when you say, I know that donut's not good for me, but you keep eating it over and over again. You have an old pattern of a food relationship that's not good that we need to rewire. So I always tell people, you guys, there's no shame or blame in understanding consciously, like, hey, this is probably not a good behavior or probably not in alignment with where my full potential is. But that doesn't mean you stop there. Usually coaching, counseling, extensive work to rewire can be super powerful, but just owning that that's where you're at is great awareness, and then getting the proper tools to rewire it. And before you know it, your body and your brain can heal. I want everybody to know this. Your brain has 100,000 miles worth of blood vessels in it and 100 billion neuronal connections. It's the most adaptable organ in the human body. So if you have something, a thought, a belief, a behavior that's not aligned with where you want to go, your brain wants food. All you have to do is give it the right food. It does take sometimes structure and delaying these old stories and sometimes professional help. I love to work with people on this. But at the end of the day, just know and hope for that you can master your brain, master your life, get out of depression if that is where you're at, and not be ashamed that even if you're high performing, successful, and very grateful for the things you have, doesn't mean you can't own that you have a part of you that you want to shift into something more aligned with where you want to go. When I got out of shame, Michael, and stepped in and actually shared with people vulnerably close to me what I was struggling with, is when my healing actually began. And many of you have heard that story of stepping in courage with your dark secret. Doesn't mean you have to necessarily go on the Today Show about it, but you can at least step in with someone close with you to start that healing process and get the tools to help you align so you can get onto your epic life.
Yeah. You mentioned the word or phrase EMDR. What is that?
So EMDR is actually rapid eye movement, if you've ever heard of it. So EMDR is part of rewiring the brain by addressing eye movement. And there's a certain structure of questions that are asked while we're tracking an eye a certain frequency. So EMDR is really taking eye modulation, regulation, tracking to another level. The eyes have a lot of activation to the brain. We take in a lot from our eyes, right? Many of our past experiences come first through visual or auditory or smell. So when we can activate an old memory, an old behavior, and then rewire the eyes, how they track with that old behavior, we can rewire new behavior for something that may be similar to something in the past, if that makes sense, everyone. You guys, if you want more information on EMDR, among other deeper subconscious rewiring techniques, 100% reach out to me. But that's kind of the general synopsis of the EMDR, is we're utilizing your eye tracking to activate an old behavior and realign behavior with a new behavior that's better for you versus what it was triggering before in the past.
What does EMDR actually stand for?
Yep. So I module. Yep. So IEM module, digital retracking.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how well that would work for me, but that's okay.
Yeah. And but the thing is, you guys, there's so, like I said, the top 3, Michael, ways that we take in old memories and align behavior subconsciously is through auditory, smell, and visual. This is why you guys, EMDR is just one of them, but there's so many powerful tools that rewire. So you don't have to access through a difference. You can access through a different sense.
Right.
So remember, you guys, you can do that for sure.
Understand. Yeah. Eye movement doesn't work for me very well, but that's okay. Having never learned to control eyes, it's a different story. So what did you do after college? You got a bachelor's. Did you go beyond a bachelor's or just a bachelor's degree? Or
yes, I got as mentioned. Yes, I got my master's in physical therapy at the same school. And as mentioned, I started becoming a physical therapist and utilizing some of this mind, body, soul integration tools. And I had a physical therapy practice, a holistic integrative mind, body, soul integrative practice. And as mentioned, I did a lot of work with high level athletes, to clients with cancer, to those with military PTSD and everything in between. It was an honor to help heal and serve them and help them thrive using some of these modalities we mentioned, but also body work, exercises, looking at nutrition, looking at different things in their environment that was feeding into mental, emotional, physical well-being or lack of. And the beautiful part of all that, I've been a practitioner, integrative physical therapist for 22 years, Michael. And what I've done is be able to now integrate that into wellness and leadership coaching for high performers and speak now about all these expertise and tools and my own stories of healing and stories of some other people I've worked with in powerful ways.
Well, so you went through college, and then did you immediately start with your own company, or did you work for anyone else first? Or?
I worked for someone for a few years to gain some managerial and some business experience, and then hopped on my own fairly quickly and had an outpatient clinic for quite some time and still do. And it's a very small part of my business as I do mostly the coaching, the speaking now. But yes, I got into becoming an entrepreneur pretty early in my career because I saw where I wanted medicine to go, where I wanted healing to go, because I felt it was more powerful than some of the traditional techniques we use as not only physical therapists, but in the medical world. And by the way, you guys, that doesn't mean medication, surgery is not needed sometimes. What I'm saying is when I did my own research, I found that more holistic, integrative approaches and different modalities were as effective, if not more, with treating different areas of wellness, mental, emotional, and physical, and allowed more accelerated, sustainable improvements. And again, I've moved that even into the coaching space where I've done the same, both in my wellness modalities and now leadership for high performing leaders and entrepreneurs to really gain the wellness, gain the leadership, gain the frequency that they want to bring, the vitality want to bring to their company, to the world, and continue on.
So clearly you are a very exuberant person and a person with a lot of vitality. What does vitality mean, and why is it important to leaders?
Yeah, I think that's such a powerful, powerful question. And I believe, one, leaders are looking at leadership differently now, especially since 2020, Michael. And one of the things we're looking at, go figure, is our wellness. We realize when we aren't showing up fully in our mental, our physical, our spiritual wellness, which we can go through all those three parts, that is our vitality. When we don't have those areas, or one is really plummeting, a lot of leaders are realizing this is our vehicle, everyone. And if we don't have that dialed in, if we're not vital in our own human self, mind, body, soul, we can't show up powerfully as leaders. Our productivity goes down, our profit goes down, our ability to communicate, because we're not even in full healing, full stability of ourselves. When we're in higher vitality, we have more resilience, everyone, to things that come at us in business, right? When we're in higher vitality and wellness, you guys, if we get a cold, a physical cold like sneeze, we rebound more quickly, right, you guys? So this works for leaders, not only in their overall wellness when things come at them and they don't feel so good, but also in leading their team. When, again, you have this vehicle where your mind is intact and sharp, where you're physically on all good cylinders, when you're spiritually in your truth, which you can go through that part of vitality, you're going to show up so in who you are and anchored to that. Your productivity, your profit, your impact, your clarity to your team and your clients skyrockets. I've literally seen leaders, Michael, that have the best systems in the world, but they were still struggling in the last 2 or 3 years. And they had a great team, but they were struggling with this area of vitality. And when we start optimizing these areas of vitality, they're like, oh my gosh, Jennifer, my staff is leaning into me. They're actually doing what I'm telling them to do. They're actually even getting more vital themselves. Oh my gosh, our productivity is going up. You guys, when you get your vitality first and foremost, and that includes mind, body, soul, wellness, and keep it there during growth and change and adversity, game over. You will be unstoppable as a leader. And I've seen it in my own clients just working with them in the last 2 or 3 years. And as mentioned, I think more leaders are realizing the influence of vitality wellness, not only on themselves, but their team and how they're showing up. So I've been able to go, and that's one of my things I go in on. I do a lot of leadership training on different aspects of communication, optimizing productivity and performance, but we always start with vitality first, because if you don't have that, everything else we just talked about in your systems and being more productive and making more money will not happen if that is not addressed first.
Well, here's another question. Let's go back and be a little bit more basic. What is a leader?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. You know, I think when we look at leadership, for one, I will say this. I believe a lot of leaders that have been leading teams, leading their family for a while, understand the basic foundations of leadership if they're doing it well. And what we consider a leader doing it well, I know is very subjective, you guys, right? Is it keeping team culture? Is it making a lot of good money? Is it creating high performance and productivity no matter adversity? There's a lot to that. But what I'm going to say is this. I believe, especially over the last several years since 2020, I believe leadership has rapidly changed into what I call leadership that is deeply connecting and deeply vulnerable with their culture, AKA their clients, their team, their community. We are at a different space in leadership that many leaders and their teams, Michael, are craving intimacy, safety, transformation, not only in the community, but for themselves at work. They actually did a poll on that, everyone, after 2020, what teams, when they were stepping into a business, what a leader could offer them and what was the most important to them. Guess what it was, everyone? One of the top two was psychological safety, ability to transform and elevate at some point, climb up the corporate ladder and contribute more powerfully and do it in a safe, powerful way and be more connected to their team, more intimate with their team. Those were over money, you guys. Think about this, okay? Over money, people want to buy into you and your culture. Mm-hmm. They want to be intimate and connect with you. So, in answer to your question as far as leadership, yes, there's a lot of basic foundational things that I think leadership does entail, including ability to really bring out the best version of people, being authentic, being integrity in your vision and mission, you know, creating consistent performance, opening and humbly taking feedback and helping others do the same, and blah, blah, blah. And those are all great. But I would say the leader of today is one that is vulnerable and is willing to deeply connect with their community of people, team, clients, et cetera, et cetera. And I believe that is going to make you, as your podcast says, unstoppable in accelerating your deeper purpose of impact, your money, and beyond. That's for the good of the world.
Well, one of the things that I've talked about on this podcast and observed in many cases is that we have to distinguish between the whole idea of being a leader and being a boss, because a boss is not necessarily a leader, although they think they are, and that tends to create grief or challenges. But true leaders are the people who do connect and are the people that people do want to gravitate to in one way or another. And there may very well be times that a boss is a good leader, but a good leader, when exercising leadership, I also think is an individual who appreciates and knows when maybe someone else in a given situation has the ability or a better ability to lead in whatever is occurring in the company or whatever they're doing. Leaders also know when to give up temporarily the whole idea of leadership and let someone else do it.
100%. And this is why, by the way, why, Michael, my two loves, health, wellness, vitality, and leadership combine and make you unstoppable. Because for you to do what you just said, to realize, to step back and go, someone might be able to do it better than me, requires super self-awareness, which comes from being in stability of your mind, body, soul. You cannot be intuitive. You can't be solution oriented. You can't be humble. You can't be aware of your surroundings if you aren't even aware of your own self and how to heal self and create stability there. And this is why I get so giddy about bringing wellness into the leadership space and really bringing the science behind it. You guys, this is chemistry. This is hormones. This is physical. The tools I use to help leaders not only perform from the leadership component, okay, but from the wellness component. And when you do the dance together, you really find that some of the things you're talking about that make such a great leader, Michael, become super easy when you are in a more healthy, vital state of being. You guys, I don't even have to give you the science right now on this podcast. Each of you can come up with great examples in your life where you felt like you were on fire with your team, the communication was rolling, your productivity was up, and you can probably list on a piece of paper right now the top 10 things that were going on around you and your culture. And I guarantee you, one of them, if not the number one, would be areas of your vitality, your mental, emotional, and physical wellness was intact, if not all of them, at least majority of them, or two of the three of them, because that creates your ability to lead well if you are in your body and healthy in your body, right, you guys? So remember that as you go further into some of these other next level leadership traits that Michael and I are continuing to talk about. When you pull in that vitality, some of these other areas of integrity, consistency, hard work, making tough decisions, having humility to reach out for help, delegating and getting a team that's just powerfully communicating together, that all comes from you being in integrity and stability and health of all parts of you. And when you got that, again, you are unstoppable as a leader.
So leaders are leaders because they're recognized and people want to connect with them. And although leaders can have bad days, anyone can have an off day from time to time. Leaders probably have a lot of great days. What's the one activity or what's the major thing that you would say is the vehicle that helps leaders have great days?
Yeah. You know, I will say this, everyone, your team doesn't want you to fake it. I just want you to know that, because what Michael just said, you're going to have your hard days. And when you're vulnerable, I also think that's a superpower for leaders. Side note is when you're being vulnerable. I don't mean that you're sitting there and shedding all of your deep, dark secrets in crying about it for several hours, you guys. What I'm saying is that when you're struggling, that you're showing up vulnerably and letting you know. I've let team members know when I'm on a staff meeting, like, listen, you guys, I'm having a rough day because of this. I need some support here. What are your ideas on this solution or this, the problem here and the solutions at hand? So first and foremost, everyone, I really want you to get out of your head that you have to be rock star 100%, knocking it apart every single day. Okay, be vulnerable, lean on your team, lean on your people, lean on your family, lean on whoever you need to help you navigate some of this. That is actually strength and courage as a leader when you are vulnerable. Okay, now that we have that aside, what is the thing that I use to show up powerfully every day, no matter what the outcome is, no matter if I end up on the wrong side of the bed or at the beginning of the day, no matter if something comes out of left field during work that I wasn't expecting? How do I continue to lead well and make it still a powerful day, Michael? For me, it's knowing that it's always a lesson. I don't care if I had a knock it out of the park day or I had a lot of, quote, problems coming at me that day, personal, professional. When I treat both sides of that coin, the, quote, good days and the days that are harder, as in they're all lessons, guess what happens, leaders? Everything becomes neutral. Then you don't get triggered, hit, taken out of your game, out into the weeds because something bad happens or something good happens. How many of us get really excited about something good that happens and it steals our day because we're just marinating all the joy, and then we're like, oh crap, we haven't gotten done with A, B, C, and D. It's the same thing with things that happen, you guys, that are hard. I really want you to get this. This is something that's been game-changing for me as a leader. When I am neutral on the good things and the hard things or the bad things that happen during my day and look at both as lessons to continue to accelerate my goals for me and my team, it's game-changing. Michael, we lose hours. They actually did a research study on this as well. We lose hours, not only as leaders, but as people, suffering. What I mean is suffering, going back and just spinning on the problem, spinning on the emotion that came from the problem, and not stepping into our healthy self and coming up with a solution and moving on with the day with the lesson. Most of us lose productivity and profit and performance because we spend too much time perseverating on what isn't going well or what is going really well and just staying in those lanes versus just getting neutral on both of them, learning the lessons from both of them and keep moving on. If we would get out of suffering more during the day and get back in our lane, and I have tools I use all the time with my coaching clients because it's a big problem that a lot of leaders have, and I've learned to master that in a lot of powerful ways to get back in my lane. It is the biggest tool that you'll have as a leader to make every day a win, no matter if it ends up being a quote good or bad day. I'm telling you guys, I have some great frameworks for that. You guys just DM me if you want to, some more support in that area. But I'm telling you, that's would be my answer, Michael, is if you can treat everything that happens as neutral and a lesson, you can get back into your mojo, your epicness for the day, and keep going. And that's where your next unstoppable self really comes from.
Well, when you're dealing with a lot of these issues of being vital or having great vitality and dealing with the lessons and so on and trying to keep neutral, how do you get leaders or anyone to step back and really analyze their day and recognize that there are lessons to be learned? And I guess what I'm really getting at is one of the things that I advocate a lot is introspection at the end of the day. Do you take time at the end of the day to really look at what happened, what was good, maybe what you felt wasn't so good, but even the good stuff, how could I have made it better? Or the bad stuff isn't bad, but rather a learning experience. And so what do you do, or do you do much to try to get people to do more introspection and just think about themselves and what happened in the course of the day? Do you help people to do that at the end of the day?
Yes, absolutely. So I believe, a lot of people ask me what is, a daily, consistent task that make the biggest domino both in their personal and professional life. I say it's morning and evening rituals. Now, by the way, everyone, what that equation is for you, as I work with clients, it depends on a variety of things. So, but I'm going to say this: morning and evening rituals are very important to begin and seal the deal, bookends of the day, because what this does, morning ritual gets you in that high vibe, right? And gets you already this kind of shield and armor, high frequency vibe when you have the right morning ritual that will create resilience to anything that good or bad that comes at you, so you can get back into your lane really quickly. What's really purposeful, you guys, this is really big. This is where people go wrong. They're like, yeah, I got the morning rituals, Jennifer. The evening ritual is super, super important. And I'm going to go off what Michael said. One of the big things, no matter what your evening ritual is, everyone, and how long that is and how much time you need is different for everyone. I work with people on that. But one of the things you definitely want to do is briefly assess your day, what went well, what didn't, and what you want to improve on for the next day. And this is what I'm going to say. This is the next layer to this, Michael, which is going to seal the deal on what you just said. From a neurological rewiring of your brain standpoint, let's say you pick top 3 things that you're like, these are the things that I struggle with today, or these are the things that went well, but I want to go better tomorrow or the rest of this week. What I then want you to do is write down 1 or 2 things that you're going to do to try to make it better. Okay. And then guess what you're going to do, you guys? Right before you go to bed, you're going to take those things you wrote down that you're going to do tomorrow or the rest of the week to make those 2 or 3 things that you want to go better. You're going to lay down for 5 minutes and you're going to visualize your next day. Okay, this is very important, everybody. Visualize your next day of how you want it to look a little bit different from today, and go through your day for the next day, literally visualizing it in real time for 5 minutes before you go to bed. Guess what this does, everybody? This is planting food into your brain. So even when you're sleeping during rest, it's already rewiring patterns and solutions, because you already activated the creative zone right before you went to bed. It's starting to rewire for solutions for the next day to happen. Keep it posted by your bed. You might wake up with a solution and write it down. But in no other case, when you wake up, you will find your morning ritual goes more efficiently. You get to write down and start all your solutions. You visualize them before, and it will happen more quickly, more effectively, more productively. You will be surprised how much better your next day will go when you visualize. Remember, you're rewiring the brain by putting it into the system right before you rest, and it has 7 to 8 hours to do the work for you. You wake up unbelievably motivated, unbelievably creative, and ready for your day. By the way, you guys, side note, for leaders, the other big top 10, I do this whole podcast, top 10 things for leaders: sleep, sleep, sleep. Do not underestimate sleep. The whole BS of you can sleep when you're dead is not true. You sleep. This is when you rejuvenate mind, body, soul for the next day. It's an absolutely active activity. The body is repairing itself. Don't deny yourself sleep, if nothing else, for this thing that we just mentioned for the evening ritual.
Well, the reality is, of course, that if we don't sleep, if we don't get 8 hours, people may disagree, but that's too bad. If you don't get 8 hours, you're not really giving your brain and your whole system the chance to revitalize, and you're not giving, as Jennifer just said, your body and your brain the ability to begin the retraining process. Yeah. And the other part about it is, okay, let's say you do what Jennifer suggested and you write down thoughts for the next day, and then the next day comes up. And let's say you actually put those things into practice. And a lot of times it doesn't necessarily happen the first day because training can take time. But let's say you do put it into practice. The other part of it is, at the end of the day, you need to go back and look at it again and go, now, how did it go today? It's a building process.
100%. And by the way, everybody, as leaders, because a lot of you listening are high performers, again, remember, let go of if it was good or bad and what it means about you. What did I say back about my story about love and significance, if I performed well or not? Look at it again as a lesson, an awesome opportunity to play the game and try again tomorrow. I always tell most leaders, the biggest problem we have is we don't give ourselves grace. You, guess what? Newsflash, are not going to knock it out of the park every day. There's too many other environmental factors going on, but you can still feel that you won the day when you look at, remember, the neutrality, the pluses, the minuses, the lessons in both, and start again tomorrow. Give yourself grace, leaders. And guess what? When you do that, you give permission to give that to your team, and you become a lot more connected, vulnerable. And I'm telling you guys, research is showing this now, just in the last year, since we've been seeing more companies that are more connected, more vulnerable, giving themselves grace, looking at the lessons, and doing things in vitality that we just mentioned that are literally taking off, and they haven't changed anything else. They haven't changed branding. They haven't changed their systems. They're just doing what we're talking about, you guys. It will be game changing for you.
And you know what? Something that just came to mind. Let's be real clear. What Jennifer is talking about in this whole discussion is not just true for, quote, leaders, end of quotation, but for everyone. The reality is that we all can put these things into practice and improve our lives. That doesn't mean that everyone is going to go out and start running operations and so on tomorrow, but it is all about establishing a new mindset. It goes back to this whole issue of unstoppability. Unstoppability is a process. It's an evolving process for most all of us, but it is still a process. And it doesn't matter whether you are a so-called leader today or not. I think Jennifer would agree. This is valuable insight and advice that's good for anyone.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. And the reason why we hone it a lot of times into leaders, you guys, is because they're often paving the way for a lot of different things. And I'm going to tell you, these tools help every human being, because at the end of the day, even if leaders are paving the way a lot of things and whatnot, we're all still learning, and we're all still human, and we all are still contributing to this world. So yes, these tools, these tips are 100% necessary for all of us. And I would say at the end of the day, leaders are just helping themselves help other people lead themselves well and live their best life. So these tools are necessary for all of us. Even though we've given examples more in the leadership role, they're 100% are going to make you more effective, more powerful, feel like you win your day and live to your fullest potential, no matter who you are.
Well, of course, the issue is that you never know when the need to lead will find you too. And the fact is that having these kinds of traits will always help other people connect, collaborate, and become better at interacting and working together. I have a question. You mentioned earlier that you think that the whole concept of leadership has changed over the past several years. What do you mean by that, and how has it changed?
Well, as I mentioned, one of the biggest changes I've seen is the need for intimacy, deep connection, and deep transformation. That anybody coming in on your team as a contract worker, as an employer, as the team leader, is it's more than about money. By the way, I love money. Money is a beautiful thing. It's what makes the world go around, allows us to invest more in ourselves and our company and make greater impact, comma, it's not what people are looking for. Okay, leaders, they are looking for deep connection. That's where leadership has changed, as I mentioned, is that they want intimacy, they want deep vulnerability, they want connection, they want major transformation of not only themselves in their ability to use their gifts in your business, but as human beings. They want to feel it's transforming their life outside of work. So we have to create a culture as leaders that we give them opportunities to use their gifts and move up the ladder, so to speak, to contribute to your cause, but also give them opportunities to evolve as human beings. And that is where it's different. The intimacy, the connection, the desire for transformation of the individual, along with just what you're contributing, in your business, that's where the change is at, for sure.
So the idea is, again, I'm not sure that there's anything new there, but it is just now more that it's become pretty visible that we really need to be more involved in trying to find ways to be connectional, because the world has changed in a lot of ways, because now we're not doing everything where everyone is sitting in the office. The world is getting smaller. And in fact, we're doing more to communicate with people all over the world. So it is a process where we do need to recognize that connection comes from many different places, and you never know where you need to find it or are going to find it.
Yeah, and transformational leadership has not been a phrase that's been around that long, Michael. And vulnerability was not spoken about in the workspace. I mean,
no.
It was less than 5% of businesses. So that is new in leadership, is this vulnerability and this transformation. That was not even talked about. I mean, the Tony Robbins have been around 20, 30 years, but it wasn't a mainstream thought. So that's where now it's becoming like 100% in all cultures of business, where we're seeing many of the teams and leaders really not pushing, but really being open more than ever to have this conversation. I mean, the word vulnerability and transformation was not around and talked about when I first started business. That's where leadership has changed, I feel. And it doesn't mean vulnerability never was around in transformation, but it was never cultivated as a necessity, as a way of making the biggest changes on the team and the individual in a business. Now they're seeing it's a huge domino, along with vitality. Leaders are seeing that bigger than ever before and how it's affecting their business. So that's where I would say leadership has really shifted, at least not necessarily that it's never been around, but where the emphasis and where people now are all hearing about it. Vulnerability, connection, intimacy, transformation, and 100% vitality. And those tools, those parts of leadership are what I believe are changing companies into being the best companies out there.
Just as an observation, it seems to me, we talk about this a lot. We talk about vulnerability. We talk about the various concepts that you're discussing today. What strikes me is, though, when we carry that over into the whole concept of political leaders, it's a different animal. You don't dare be vulnerable in any way. You don't dare make a mistake. There's no room to be able to connect and do things and truly lead the way you're describing, which is so unfortunate.
And, it's interesting. And I totally agree with you when you say that, but I'm going to challenge the narrative. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's why, with some of our political voting, and I'm not speaking for everybody out there, but a lot of people have voted for the lesser of the two evils. I haven't heard a lot of people align with a political candidate for a while. By the way, you guys, this is just subjective. I'm not saying.
Yeah, this is not talking about any candidate or taking any political position.
But I will say this, everyone. I would challenge any person running for political office, no matter what your beliefs are, that you stand in your truth, you stand in vulnerability, maybe stand in that connection with your crowd. And maybe, just maybe, there might be a shift in how leadership can be done more powerfully in the political realm. So I agree with you, but maybe there needs to be a shift there. That's just kind of my challenge to the political offices, and see if there might be an ability to make even a greater change in areas that I care about, because I care about the leaders of our country. I know you do too, Michael. So maybe if we challenge them to look at leadership in this way, maybe we can see some changes that we haven't seen for a while.
Well, and that's why I brought it up, because I think that's exactly what we need to do, is that the people who are political leaders need to lead and need to deal with the issues that we're talking about here, just as much as people in companies and organizations do. If we can't allow ourselves to be ourselves, people are going to see it. And salespeople are always involved in selling a product. And oftentimes I hear of sales situations where people have to sell this product no matter what, and aren't ever willing to say this won't be the right product or won't deal with being totally truthful. And the reality is people can see through that, and people won't trust you. They will learn not to trust you because they can tell the difference between reality and smoke and mirrors.
Of course, absolutely. And, whether someone considers themselves intuitive or can tell if someone is being truthful or not, we all have it at our core a little bit. Now, those that practice and get into their vitality and really get into their awareness of self, they can be the spidey senses that they can tell when someone's always being in and out of integrity, right? And I believe that you can refine that. But I agree with you. The average human being often can tell when someone's being truthful or deceptive. And no matter what, you guys, deception is a low frequency, and whether it's conscious or unconscious, it moves people away from you. It's just like when you go to a party, you're like, that person has great energy and you're kind of drawn to them. And then the person that you feel doesn't, you pull away. You guys are already practicing that, whether you're conscious of it or not. So you can feel low frequency, aka deception, and that pulls people away from you. So it serves no one when we're not in that space. So that's where I encourage, it doesn't matter if you're a political leader or a business leader or a leader of your family, when you're being authentic and truthful in your space, people are drawn to you. Because, by the way, I have gone into situations where I knew people 100% disagreed with me, but because I was staying aligned with my truth, I wasn't trying to be deceptive or manipulative. I just was like, this is who I am. This is why I believe. They actually have said to me, like, Jennifer, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I like you because I can tell you're really standing in your truth. They literally said, they're like, I want to sit here and hang out a little bit more. You guys, this stuff is real. We're never all going to agree, but if you step in truthfully your truth and give it that way, you guys, people are drawn to that and they're open to conversations. Wouldn't that be a big thing?
Why is that? Why are people drawn to that?
Yeah, and it's partly because we're drawn to truth. So truth, if you look at frequency of emotions, anger, frustration, shame versus truth, forgiveness, love, light. It's love, light, truth is a higher frequency for humans. Okay. When you get excited about something, when you knock your day out of the park, that's a high frequency feeling, right? Of joy, peace. You're a lot more creative in that zone. You're more nice in that zone. You're more connected to people in that zone. When you're in low frequency, it takes that away from you. So if you're surrounding yourself with people, they're in low frequency, you don't want that because it naturally doesn't feel good. It's kind of like negative and negative. You're like repelling each other, right? It doesn't bring out the best in you. If you're around a negative person all the time, or a person angry, it's going to bring you in that low frequency of anger or frustration, right? Do you think you can become creative in that zone, happy in that zone, powerful in that zone? No. So that's why we want to have tools in people around us that we can surround ourselves with that gets us into that hope, joy, frequency. And there's things you guys can do individually and with other people to get you there. We are naturally drawn to high frequency people because we want to be high frequency because it feels better, right? To be joyful and loving and truthful. You guys, come on, let's just be honest. All of us have like shared a little fib with someone, told a lie at some point in our life. Did it actually feel good when you did it? No, I can guarantee you guys, whether you're aware of it or not, when you go back to that situation, you probably felt, if not a little bit, a lot bad about it. And then, yeah, maybe you moved on with your day. Now, if you keep doing that, it becomes wired in your brain, and then you don't think about it. Right? But if you're feeling that low frequencies because you know that's not in alignment about where you need to be, and people can feel that, so it repels you. It's like negative and negative repel. We want to be in truth, love, and light because that's where our greatest gifts shine. So if someone is not being that way, we naturally want to pull away from them. We can feel it. All of us can, you guys. Again, go to a party. You can tell the one that's being honest with you, not exaggerating, the one that isn't, okay? And who is the one that you usually are drawn to? the one that's being truthful, okay? Whether you're, again, consciously realizing or not, because it ups your frequency. It makes you want to be more truthful. It makes you feel good. You drop off the serotonin, the happy pills, the dopamine. It makes you feel good. And that's what we crave, right, everyone? So understanding high and low frequency, and that lie is a negative frequency. Start with yourself. Make sure you're staying in alignment with truth. And then you're going to pick up radar when other people aren't, and you want to align with people that are going to be more honest and truthful with you. Doesn't mean that we're honest and truthful 100% of the time. I know a lot of us have been in that story, but when you get more in alignment with it, you'll be surprised how much more congruent, healthy, and powerful you feel, because you're staying with who you are and what you believe you are.
And that was what I was just going to say, is that if you are truthful, if you can stay in that path, you're going to feel a lot better, and you're going to feel more vital, and you're going to feel more powerful, and you're going to do it for the right reasons.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that's what's really important. What is intuitive leadership?
Yeah, intuitive leadership. So you guys, a lot of times people look at intuition as this kind of like intangible kind of woo-woo energy. Like some people kind of have spidey senses about a gut instinct. You guys know it's very science, it's very physiological. So all of us have intuition, all of us have it within us. But if you don't learn to get on the mat and use it, it goes dormant. So I really want to be, I want to be very clear about that. All of us have the opportunity to be more intuitive. It is our sixth sense. We have our five senses, then our sixth sense. Intuition literally lives in our different energy channels in our body, right between our eyes, at our heart, and our gut. We hear about gut instinct, right? That's intuition. All intuition is that you know, you just know, you just know with no evidence. You can look at stats on paper and it doesn't make sense that you should make a decision, but you feel right, you should go with your intuition, okay? Your intuition will trump every day of the week and twice on Sunday objective stats if you're truly in intuition, okay, everyone? Sometimes when you aren't practiced at learning what your intuition is, you do make a wrong choice thinking it's intuition that ends up being a lesson. What did we talk about earlier? But intuition is, just because you know, and how we all sense it is different how we describe it. Something I teach in my coaching program, what I call 7 levels of intuitive mastery. So you learn how you feel it in your body, so you can utilize it for big decisions to small decisions. You guys, people like Oprah Winfrey and the Kardashians, you guys, I'm serious, you guys, big people use intuition more on major money decisions over stats in a book. Did you know that? Okay, why? Because your intuition, what did we just talk about earlier, is your truth. It's your antennas. When you get information in, should I do this or not? It's saying yes or no. If it's in truth, what do we say? It's your truth, so it's always going to be the right decision. It never lies. So intuition is understanding that you just know because it's in your gut to do, but there's nothing to really back you statistically or not. You just know. And once you know how to utilize that, and you know it is intuition, again, it is the greatest and the best decision you're going to make over any stats. By the way, everyone, that doesn't mean I'm saying ignore stats, ignore things that you see that have happened in the past to make better decisions in the future. What I'm saying is, when you're going through decision making day in, day out, big and small decisions, you never want to lose out on the intuitive space. Intuition is science. It lives energetically in our body, in the mind, in the heart, in the gut. As I mentioned, there's actually physiological activations when we're using our intuition. It is our sixth sense. This is part of who we are. It is not woo-woo, okay? It is literally, you are literally taking out a part of a human that you are. Otherwise, we'd be like every other animal on the animal planet, okay? That's what makes us, among other things, the highest level in the animal kingdom is our intuition, our ability to look at stats and still rise above it if we feel there's something better there. Do you know most presidents have said, because women are naturally more intuitive, partially because it lives in the feminine space. It doesn't mean guys can't be. But you know what a lot of presidents have said? They love turning back to their wife to ask on major decisions what they feel intuitively to do, because they know it's the right decision, you guys, okay? We're talking about massive, big leaders that know and value intuition. It is physiological. It is science. using a framework that I utilize to learn how to tap into your unique intuition is going to change your efficiency with decision making during your day. It's going to change your ability to be in high energy and help other people to use intuition as well. It's going to change your life. So intuition at the end of the day is, you just know. It is a sixth sense. It is physiological. You can get on the mat and expand it through our 7 levels of intuitive leadership. And when you combine that in decision making, you become unstoppable.
It is a skill that needs to be exercised. It grows the more you use it. My favorite example, and I've talked about it several times on this podcast, is Trivial Pursuit. Yeah. I love to play Trivial Pursuit. And how often do you get a question, you think you know the answer, but then you think about it, no, that's not right, I got to choose this one. Right. And the original answer was the right one, right, because your intuition, your mind is telling you that. And I think it's so important that we work to exercise that muscle. Yes. Because it's there ready to talk to us anytime we're willing to listen.
100%. And what you just said on standardized tests, they've looked at correlations of those that do better on standardized tests. Like you're talking about, like which answer to choose. One of the components was that they were highly intuitive. They considered themselves highly intuitive and that they would stay with the answer that they were, because it's your truth. You're drawn to the right answer, you guys. What did I say? We are drawn to high frequency, AKA truth. You guys don't underestimate. I could spend a whole nother podcast giving the 7 levels deep framework on intuition, on different hard to easier decision making. I'm telling you, it's powerful. If you guys want to connect with me on that, do that. But don't underestimate that in leadership. And it's another thing I'm seeing a lot of leaders are craving because they're seeing the value of it more than ever. And it's something I teach in my program. So go after it, my friend, because intuition is yours to be had.
So let's talk about very quickly, because we have been doing this a while, which is great. How do people reach out to you? Tell us about your companies, how they can reach out to you. And first, have you written any books?
I have not, but I will be writing my
There first you go. Get to work.
Yes, I'll be doing that by the end of the year for sure.
Let us know when it's out, and we want to definitely put it on the podcast. But how do people reach out to you and tell us the various options that they have available?
Absolutely. So I'm most active on LinkedIn and Instagram. On Instagram, you can visit me at the Jennifer Watson, THE, and my last name, Jennifer Watson. And then on LinkedIn, Jennifer Watson. And you can also go to my website, jenniferwatsonleadership.com. I will say this, if any of you are interested in connecting more after this podcast, I answer all my own DMs and all these social media platforms. And if you're looking at additional support, we can look at ways that I can continue to support you in your journey to become a more masterful leader of your life and beyond. And one thing I did want to mention, even though I don't have a book out right now, which will be coming out, Michael, at the end of the year, I do have a brand new mastermind starting in June that if anybody would like to connect with me on and just learn a little bit more about, there's no pressure on that, but I am offering a special deal for anyone listening to this podcast. And all you have to do when you listen to this podcast is DM me leader. And I will be able to give you that at a substantial discount just from listening to this podcast. And it's starting up in June. Again, if you're interested in connecting with me on it, just to hear the deets, no pressure on that, I'd love to share that with you.
So what's the mastermind about?
Yep. So the mastermind is what it's called is Your Health, Your Leadership, Your Legacy Mastermind. And we are going next level on rapid transformational principles, tools, and techniques on wellness, vitality, on leadership, next level leadership traits, communication, speaking on any stage, and not just the front stage, in your classroom, in your team, in any environment, and also high performance leadership coaching so you can live your legacy at the next level. We're going to be getting a lot of special guest speakers coming in, again, giving you a lot of tools and frameworks that we're getting on the mat. We do a lot of hot seat coaching and get you guys also leading. Okay, in a mastermind, it's not just about learning things, it's about integration, and I'm getting you guys to lead the mastermind as well. We're going to get you guys so refined in how you lead your life and yourself. It's going to be so powerful. So your health, your leadership, your legacy, unleashing the 2.0 leader within, my friend. And you're going to get there in the time that we have on that mastermind.
So send Jennifer a direct message on LinkedIn or Instagram and just put leader in the message. Yeah. I'm assuming there's a way they can reach out to you through your website and say leader as well.
Absolutely.
All right. And there you go. And so reach out to Jennifer. I know that she will respond. We met each other on LinkedIn and she responded right away, which is great. and we got to do this podcast. And I want to thank you again for being here and being so energetic and having so much to say to all of us. And for you listening there in the world, wherever you are, thanks for doing so. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this podcast. Please give us a 5-star rating wherever you're listening. But reach out to me at michaelhi@accessibe, ACCESSIBE.com, or go to michaelhingson, HINGSON.com/podcast and listen to other episodes. But again, wherever you're listening, please give us a 5-star rating. We really do appreciate that because it's your opinions and your comments that excite us and that keep the podcast going. So again, finally, Jennifer, thanks very much. We really appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Michael.